I will say, this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice, for he has made me glad. Greetings, greetings. How are you all doing? I believe you are all doing well. You are all blessed of the Lord. Today, I want us to look at an opportunity for growth during the times of testing. An opportunity, a chance to grow whenever we are passing through all kinds of testing. What better scripture to look at than the scripture that has been written of us in the book of James 1, verse 2 to 4? And it reads, Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow. But when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. When we sit and meditate upon this portion of scripture and what it is telling us, we sit down and think for a moment, counting it all joy when trouble is at my door, when I have lost my job, when my marriage is at stake, when I'm having ministry struggles, or when I'm going through sickness, abandonment, financial struggle, and I should count it all joy. I'm facing all these kinds of things, all kinds of problems right now, and I should count it all joy. Well, what the writer of, this scripture means, like it is written in the book of Nehemiah 8, verse 10, which reads that the joy of the Lord is our strength. When those kinds of troubles have come your way, it means that your faith is being tested. It becomes an opportunity for us to experience God, to see God at work in our lives, turning those difficult situations, making them work for our good, and giving us the strength, the faith to endure them in order for us to become stronger, believe God more, and trust God more. And so when he says that, you count it all joy, for the joy of the Lord is our strength, considering it as an opportunity for great joy. It is because of what we know God for. I'm sure from the time you were born to where you are at in life, you have already passed through so many testings, and you have already seen God at work in your life. And the way you were before in believing God is different from the way you are now. Why? Because you have believed God, you have seen God at work in your life, you have seen God provide, you have seen God turn those situations around, and you have believed God even more. You have known God even more. And so, yes, it should be an opportunity for great joy because I'm going to be connected to God even more. I am going to know God even more. So, what testings are you facing right now? Consider it an opportunity for great joy because when your faith is tested, what does it produce? It produces endurance, it produces perseverance, determination for you to get on to the next course. It's like you are sitting for an exam for you to go to the next grade level or for you to graduate and get a good job. You have to pass through that test for them to see that you are capable of handling the next grade level or you're capable of getting a job and being good at your work. It's the same thing for us believers. When we pass the test, we believe God more. We know God more, and our relationship with God becomes deeper, strengthened, and stronger, such that any other trouble that may come your way, because this life is full of troubles, like the Bible tells us, but we can overcome them. Why? Because we have already seen God at work in our lives whenever we were going through difficult and trying times. So, be it in your own personal life, or in the ministry, or in your family's lives, whenever you are seeing troubles, just know that it's an opportunity for you to get to the next level, because your faith is never going to be the same again. You will be stronger. Let's look at the people in the Bible, how they went through all kinds of situation and they overcame. Let's look at David, for example. Where did David draw his strength from? What was the secret to David's success? Every stage of his life, for him to get to the next level, he had to fight the bear. He had to run, flee from King Saul, and God saved him every time. And so, whenever he was going through a trial or test, he knew that God has done it before. God will not fail him, and God will still do it again. And that's why we can read the book of Psalms today whenever we're going through trying times. And after we are done, our faith is strengthened, because if God did this for David saw the goodness and the faithfulness of God in his own personal life. It is the same thing for me too. I will see the goodness of God in my own life, because this is who God is and this is what he does for his children. When we look at Daniel, when he had to pass through the testings of being thrown into the mouths of the lions, he experienced God. He saw God shut those mouths of lions, and he spent the whole time with them and came out without a scratch on his body. When we see Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, of them being thrown in the fire and still coming out unscorched, that gives us the faith to believe God more, the faith to see God at work in the lives of these people, how he took care of them, how they overcame their struggles because God was with them every step of the way. What about your own personal life when you see God work in that way? Let's look at the life of Joseph. For him to be able to run the whole nation of Egypt, he had to pass through all kind of tests to be stronger and to believe God more, that he is capable of delivering. He is capable of making him the second greatest from the king and rule in Egypt, from being abandoned by his brothers to being sold as a slave, being accused of assault, and being thrown in prison. Those were all kinds of tests that Joseph experienced. And he still believed in God. And God still delivered. He took care of him. And in the end, he made him a great man. So it's the same thing in your life. That test that you are experiencing right now, consider it an opportunity for growth, because your faith has been strengthened and you are beginning to see God at work in your life. I remember in my own personal life when we moved from my country to another country, and we had no family members with us. My husband was a student then, no job, but we believed God that he would take care of us. I remember when we would receive an eviction notice to leave the house within 3 days. In the beginning, I was afraid. I didn't know. And I was like, we are in a foreign country. What is going to become of us? And my husband would be like, God is going to provide. God will take care of us. I didn't know God that much. When I was in my country, I knew that if I needed anything, I had my families with me. You know, I can easily go to my mom's. I can easily call my brother and my sister, and whatever I need, they would provide. But a time came when my brother was not there, my sister was not there, my mom was not there. It was just me, our 3 kids, and my husband in a foreign land. That was an opportunity. I didn't know it back then, but I know it now. That was an opportunity for my faith to be strengthened, for my faith to grow, for me to see God at work in my life. The way I read about David and how he overcame and how he saw God come through in his life, it was also the way I was also going to know God and my own personal life of how God was going to overcome, was going to help me overcome, strengthen my faith, and see Him at work in my own personal life. And so an eviction notice can come. You got 3 days to leave the house. I would cry my eyeballs out, but my husband would be like, God will provide. He has never failed us, and He's not about to fail us now. Within those 3 days, money would be provided. And that problem would pass. Another time, another eviction would come. And so I started becoming strong. I started believing God more that He would provide. And so if we would go 3 months without paying rent, the moment that eviction notice would come to leave the house in 3 days, I would get that later, wave it before God, and tell God that, Lord, you did it then. I trust you. You will do it again. And within that time frame, God would provide. My faith grew. My faith was strengthened. I knew God at another level in my life because I saw Him at work in my own personal life. And many years later, here I am standing here to even talk about my past, of how I overcame every struggle by believing in God that He's able. And the way I was then, it's not the way I am now, because I have experienced God in so many different ways, and my faith is strengthened. And so I believe that you too, whatever you are facing, whatever you are going through, especially in ministry, maybe things are not going on so well. Trust in God, believe in God, endure. This is going to pass through too. And when it passes, you will know God at a deeper level. So what are you going to do? You're going to count it all joy, because God is giving you the strength to be able to overcome. God is giving you an opportunity to believe Him for more and know Him more. It's an opportunity for you to pass that test. I hope this has been of an encouragement to you, and I hope you have been blessed. Stay blessed.